Hello nerds, thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is your week in Nerdom Music Edition for the week of October 8th, 2018. This week in music we've got a Limp Bizkit update for once. Yeah, funny things. Slipknot update, we've got High on Fire, new music, things and stuff to go with, so let's hit the intro.
Quiet on the set, rolling.
Hi, I am Bitsy Telek.
Hey, I'm Hale Appleman.
I'm Walter Kane.
I'm Rene Aubergenois. Odo on Deep Space Nine.
Michael Dorn, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Star Trek The Next Generation.
Come and see me and hear me and talk to me and listen to me talk about myself.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, often considered generally nerdy, and you are listening to what is often considered generally nerdy.
On Generally Nerdy.
You're listening to
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Generally nerdy.
First thing, we're talking Limp Bizkit. Yeah. Oh my. So, I don't know if we've talked about it here on Nerdy or not, but the first band I really got into was Limp Bizkit. And that was like the first heavy band I got into, aside from like 80s hair metal stuff. That was kind of what I was raised on, and then like the first thing that I felt like, man, this is a band that's really speaking to me, was Limp Bizkit. If that may take away my metal cred, whatever, I don't care. That's that band for me. So they always kind of have a little place for me. So still waiting on the Stampede of the Disco Elephants, or whatever the hell they're gonna call their next record. They're apparently on tour right now, and the only reason I know that is because apparently it might not even been a tour, it might just have been the festival. They were at a festival over the weekend, and ICP was also on the festival. The name of the festival was the Rock Allegiance Festival. So what ICP was doing on a bill that's being called Rock Allegiance, I have no idea. But so they're standing side stage while Limp Bizkit is playing that evening, and at the end of a song, Shaggy 2Dope, one of the guys from ICP, tries to drop kick Fred Durst and misses. And it's like, I don't know. The link in the description to one of the videos, there's 3 different angles. Actually, I think I saw 4 different angles. I'm not going to link to all 4 of them. I'm just going to link to one. They're all basically the same thing. You see Shaggy, and like, I don't know how we know it's Shaggy, because from the video, I saw the footage, and it just looks like a drunk dude coming off the side of the stage. You kind of see him, he's throwing up the devil horns, and he's running up behind Fred like he's going to put his arm around him, and then all of a sudden, he jumps up and tries to kick him. And it's very strange. No word as to why exactly this happened. It seems that it was some sort of thing of endearment that Shaggy was trying to do, because again, his body language, and you know, he's running up here screaming with the metal horns, and just seemed very, very weird. And then like, so Fred earlier in the set apparently was like doing shout outs to ICP because they were on the bill, and a couple years back apparently Fred did a guest spot on an ICP cover album, which is a very strange sentence to say. Yeah, so like there was good vibe, there was good relationship there, and then that happened, and then Fred kind of talked a little shit as the bodyguards were taking Shaggy off the stage, and apparently Shaggy got arrested, and I really want to know what the hell happened. Because that's very strange to me. Very, very, very strange. But we don't know what happened, so we gotta kick on to our next bit of news, which is a Slipknot update. And we got an interview with Shawn Crahan, the clown, the one of the three percussionists. It was with radio station Lazer 103.3 out in Iowa, where they live, where Slipknot is from. It's kind of a long interview, but the really interesting part, there's two really interesting parts. First, he talks about the 20th anniversary of the self-titled record, and he kind of alludes to something, some real big plan that the hardcore fans are going to want to travel for, and only the hardcore fans are really going to understand, which sounds really interesting to me. If I had the time and money, I would totally be down to figure it out, but that's all he said. He didn't say when exactly, he didn't say where exactly, though I would imagine it'd probably be somewhere in Iowa, so that's kind of a given, unless they, I don't know, go towards a coast for it. He didn't give any details, but he said something is in the works to celebrate that record. Hopefully that means it's a front-to-back playthrough of the record, and there's some big special thing, maybe even all the digipack stuff. That would be really cool, though highly unlikely. Though I bet they would do both Purity and Me Inside, because Me Inside was the song that they substituted for Purity when they had to take Purity off for the, whatever it was, like 3 years or something, that they were in the litigation with that song. But it's a whole other conversation. We're not talking about that. The other thing in this interview that I found very, very interesting is when he was talking about the upcoming record. He said he can't say too much. He said he's been in trouble in the past for running his mouth because he gives away details before he's allowed to give them away. He said, but know this, they've been home for over 2 years, and then he said something along the lines of, do the math, because we're never home that long. And then he also said, there is music that is done out there somewhere. So, meaning what's very likely his parts are done, and it's out there, meaning it's to the other members of the band for them to do their parts. Some of these songs, I am willing to put money, have been finished by all 9 members. They're just, they have to finish the rest of the tracks, and then they have to master, and so on and so forth. So, looks like if Shawn is done with his portion, granted that's only 1/9 of the things that need to happen on the record, 1/10 I guess if you count mastering as a whole other step, we're probably looking at a new Slipknot record in the spring, I would imagine, maybe even the end of the winter. That would be really awesome. The winter's not super likely unless it's after the new year, because silly music business things, if you put out an album at the end of a year, then by a couple weeks later when it's the new year, then people don't want to book you because your album came out last year, even though it was just 2 weeks ago. So it's silly stuff. So very likely what we're looking at is something towards the end of the winter, beginning of the spring for the new Slipknot record, which means they're going to probably do at least the US leg of their next tour in the summer, which kind of ties in pretty well, because Stone Sour's probably going to be finishing their tour that they're on right now sometime in the near future, which gives Corey about a month or so off, and then come back to do a Slipknot tour. So that all kind of gels really well. So be on the lookout for a new Slipknot record. Totally rumor, totally just putting this out there and seeing if it sticks, but I am willing to bet money that we get a new Slipknot record by the end of the winter, beginning of the spring, sometime in that neighborhood. February, March, somewhere in there. I'm very, very willing to bet that that is when we see new Slipknot music. That is the only really interesting bits from that interview, so we're going to kick on to our next bit of news, which is another new song from High on Fire off of their forthcoming Electric Messiah record that is out this week, actually. So as you're watching this, I think it's going to be out Tuesday. So the week that this is, you know, a thing, we're going to be getting the new High on Fire record, so hopefully we'll be able to talk about it a little bit more in depth next week after I've listened to it once or twice. But super excited. The new song that they just released a video for is called Spewn from the Earth. Link in the description if you want to go check that out. Do so, because you can't, right now High on Fire has hit their stride. They are doing all of the things in the right way. They're not really breaking new ground with this music necessarily. Like Electric Messiah was a little out of the norm, just very small bits of expansion there. By and large, though, this is exactly what you're looking for in a High on Fire record, and that's not a bad thing in any way. This is one of the best metal bands around right now, so definitely go check out that record when it hits this week. Next on our list of music news this week is Filter. For those of you who don't know, Filter was a thing in the mid to late 90s. I believe 97 was when they first put out their first record. Might have been 96. And I learned something about the band Filter while I was doing the research for this week's episode. The core members of that group, there's just two of them. The lead singer, where's the names? Lead singer Richard Patrick, and then I don't know what Brian Liesegang. I'm totally butchering that name, so if you know how to pronounce it, let me know down below. But that's Liesegang. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that. I'm sure both of them are multi-instrumentalists, but they met working for Nine Inch Nails. So that's really working for Trent Reznor. That's pretty freaking awesome. Which kind of explains a little bit of their sound in my head, but that's just me. I do that. So they put out one record, if memory serves, they put out one record together before Liesegang left, and Richard, what's his last name again? Richard Patrick. Woo! Richard Patrick stuck around and fronted the band since. So every record that's come out since their first record has just been Richard Patrick with other players. But Liesegang has not been a part of it. They got in a fight, and it's kind of been... It's weird relationship, and this is kind of a tangent, but whatever. It's a weird relationship because they're still close friends. They're just not working together anymore until now. They have launched it's not a Kickstarter, but it's similar. What's it called? It's a PledgeMusic Campaign, and that's how they're funding this new record. It's just the two of them again. They've gotten rid of all of the periphery, though I'm sure some of those peripheral players are going to come back for the tour once this record is finished. But yeah, they are crowdfunding it through PledgeMusic. Link in the description if you're interested. You can go check out, I believe there is a new song that they've finished recording is... through that link as well, so check that out if you are into... It's like alt metal from the 90s. It's not really post grunge. It's a little too clean and produced for that, but I don't know. Filter is Filter, man. It's kind of hard to really place it. There's definitely a quasi-industrial element to it. But, yeah, I mean, if you like Hey Man, Nice Shot, that's kind of their big claim to fame. They had Take My Picture and so on and so forth, but, yeah, they kind of got a little softer. I'm hoping that this new music that they're putting out is going to be back towards their earlier stuff, because it is those same two dudes from the beginning. That a little more chaotic, a little more aggressive. That's the Filter that I really started liking. Once they put out that Take My Pictures song, I just stopped caring. I didn't even realize that Patrick, what's his name again? Richard Patrick. I wanted to say Brian, whatever. Richard Patrick was still, they were still doing tours and putting out music and things. I stopped. They were not on my radar until this, because it's, again, going back to that original lineup, those original two dudes. I feel like that's a good sign, and that's all we have. Check out the link, check out their new music. They're 57 days away from the end of the drive, so as you're watching this, probably more like 56, 55. If you're a patron, then it's 56. If you're not a patron, it's 55. And they're about 57% away from their goal. So check it out. If you like Filter, if you've never heard of them and you like the sample music that they have on their PledgeMusic page, go pledge some bucks. You get stuff too, not just the record that they're going to put out, but other things. It's all laid out there. We're moving on because I'm rambling. Next, we're talking, and actually the last on the list is Rammstein. In a new interview with Music Radar, Paul Landers, the other guitar player, not Christoph, but Paul, said that their goal is to get this new record out by the spring. And we kind of have already, made that hypothesis. Yeah, it sounds like the way things are going, that's the end game is going to be approximately spring. That's what we talked about last time we talked about the new Rammstein record. The new bit, really, I mean, that's confirmation of what we were already figuring, but the new bit is the way they're recording. So Rammstein, the reason they say it takes them so long to put out a record is because it's so democratic. Their process is so democratic. They have to literally, all 6 dudes have to sign off on every note that everyone is playing and or singing. So that process takes a long time to go through, which to their benefit. And that's also kind of why they thought maybe Liebe ist für alle da was the last record they were going to be doing, because it's such a process and they're getting on in years, and they're not that old, but I mean in the music industry they're pretty old. So that kind of was playing against them, but also is one of the reasons why their music is so solid. But their process also involves, when they're recording, that they do each person's part one at a time. If you're familiar with recording process, that is a very standard way to record. You record a scratch track. It's a couple of the instruments that everyone kind of plays with in their overdubs is what they're called. So, or the other option is to play 100% live, or play live, which would be everyone's plugged into a track in the recorder so that you can play with levels and stuff afterwards and do some post-production work. But by and large, that method is seen as, I mean, a lot of jam bands do it that way. It's usually a little more raw. A lot of people feel like there's more emotion in the music when you record this way. So those are basically the 2 ways, and obviously there's a lot of crossover between them, but by and large those are the 2 basic ways that you record a band. Rammstein, for apparently every other album that they've put out, has been primarily the first bit. Now though, from this interview, they're doing primarily the second style. They're doing live. They're playing in a circle, everyone going into the recorder in their own tracks and whatever, but they're doing it all together, which is going to change the dynamics of Rammstein, which I think is a very interesting prospect, because Rammstein is very cut and dry and very 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 and industrial in their sound. And so to put more soul, not that Till doesn't have feeling in his vocal, because obviously he does, but to change the dynamic of the instrumentation, I feel like is going to be the biggest thing that we notice, and I'm super excited about that, because listening to them on the record and then going and seeing them live are 2 very different experiences. This is going to be somewhere in the middle of that, and that's really awesome to me. So, yeah, again, look for the new Rammstein record in the spring of 2019, probably shortly after the new Slipknot record. Wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't it be awesome if once these 2 new records come out, they go on tour together again? Oh, I would die a happy man. But that, guys, is the end of music this week. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. What did I miss? What should we talk about next week? Let me know in the comments down low. If, though, you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. That is the place that you can support. You can find all the freebies, all of the social media links, all of the store links, so you can go get your nerdy swag. There are more than just t-shirts, but go check it out. generallynerdy.net. If you want to support the channel a little more directly, there is a Patreon page, patreon.com/generallynerdy. You've seen it fly across the screen a couple of times at this point. Check that out. There are 4 tiers. Lowest tier is just $1, and you get more content for just that $1. That extra content you get is almost twice as much just for the $1. So go check that out. And then there are, like I said, 3 more tiers above that. If you want more content, hit up those other tiers because there is plenty more for you to choose from. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button. If you like this episode, click the like button. If you're falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up and you're watching me on the YouTubes, then click or tap that box right there to the left of my face to do that. But before we go, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.